Did you know that over 90% of startups fail? Here's how you can beat the odds with my top 5 takeaways from starting a startup while still at university and running it for the past 2.5 years. For those of you that are new here, my name is Jay and I'm a 24-year-old startup founder. I started my first business whilst at university and then continued to build different businesses on the side. For the past 2.5 years now, we've been working on Fabrio, which is an edtech startup on a mission to make learning and using CAD easier. In this video, I want to go through the top 5 things that I've learned during my short time in business. Now, these are things that I've kind of put together from my first business, which was selling golf ball markers, which I'll probably tell you about someday, to the current startup that we're working on now, and also things that I've noticed from working with other founders as well. So take these with a pinch of salt, and these are all relative to me, but hopefully they're saying things that can help you. So lesson number 1 is you need to become a Swiss Army knife. You need to be a jack of all trades and a master of maybe 1 or 2. When you're in that early stages of running a company, you are literally doing every job. It is my role as a founder to pick up the marketing or pick up the sales or pick up the building the tech. And my true goal is to hire people that are better than me. I need to be able to hire someone who's better at building tech, better at marketing, and better at sales, and build up a team around me. But as a founder, it's important that I have the main vision to drive those people. What I've learned from doing my first business by myself as like a solo entrepreneur with the golf ball markers, I was manufacturing them. I was creating the design. I was putting them on eBay. I was doing marketing around them. I was reaching out to other content creators. And now I'm running out of fingers here because you end up doing a little bit of everything and you need to be willing to do that. When you're in a position of having enough revenue or you've got some funding or you can hire another person, you break it down and you look, okay, where is my biggest weakness? Where is my biggest gap? And you hire for that first. So with Fabrio, even though we were a Swiss Army knife from the start, we were doing everything. We realized that, okay, the biggest gap was our tech. We couldn't build the tech quick enough. So the first hire we did was a software developer. So that brings me on to my second lesson. You need a strong ability to learn. As a business owner, as a founder, you will be there not knowing what to do half the time. You won't have the necessary skills to market, or you've never published a piece of work, or you've never spoken to a customer, you've never tried to sell something. These are all skills that you may not have when you first start out, and you need the ability to learn and learn quickly. So one of the most tangible things is, say you don't know how to code and you need to build an app. Well, if your entire business relies on it being an app, then you either need to learn how to code or you won't have an app. So with the strong ability to learn, you need to be picking up skills quickly. Learning happens in loads of different ways. And it might not happen through watching videos like this online or analyzing different companies or reading. It's completely up to you. To be honest, like for me personally, I learned everything I knew about startups through a couple of different streams. And I'm not an expert. There's so many things left for me to learn. But when I was at university, I was a part of a student accelerator program called Accelerate Me. They taught me a lot about business and speaking to customers and networking and raising and fundraising, what it all means. I used a YouTube series called How to Start a Startup by Y Combinator, which is a big accelerator in America that I'm sure you would have heard of if you're watching this video. And then third and finally, like I love to read, and I love to read books around about business, startups, sales, whatever I'm struggling with at that point in time, whatever gap I'm missing, I'll pick up a book on it and I'll read it. Some of the books I've read recently are the 0 to 1 book by Peter Thiel. That's a really good book from going from the basics to 1. The Challenger Sale. Now, I love this book because it really changed my mindset on how I sold to a potential customer. I've got the Lean Startup as well. This is just a staple within startups. And then finally, there's one which I don't have a copy with at the moment, but it's called the Mom Test. And the Mom Test teaches you how to ask questions to potential customers and to see if there's really a problem that you're out trying to solve. Learning is difficult, but learning is super important because you're not going to have all the skills of being a successful founder. But as a first-time founder or first-time business owner, you're going to need to pick up new skills. You need the willingness to teach yourself. If you've never designed a poster before or a flyer, you need to sit on Canva and learn how to use your what a good design looks like. And I think that ability and that willingness to learn is what makes great startup founders stand out. The third lesson is you can't sweat the small stuff. And I used to do this a lot. I would make a small mistake or even a big mistake, and I'd think about it for hours, if not days. There were many times where I would email the wrong person and I'd say the wrong name, or I messed up a meeting, or even a sales call. There's a couple that I've messed up in trying to sell this big contract, and I thought it went terribly. And I've been sitting there mulling over it. And I was like, this is terrible. Like, it's ruined my startup. That's not the case. Like, these small blips and these mistakes is actually what you can use as learning points for the future. As long as you're not making the same mistake twice, you're absolutely golden. The fourth lesson that I've learned is constant experimentation is key. And let me kind of break down what I mean by that. Now, you may be getting customers through an outbound email strategy. Sounds boring, right? But constant experimentation is key. And what I mean by that is the fact that you don't know if what you're doing is the right thing. It's important to continually experiment with your ideas, and it's important to continually know if what you're doing is the right thing. Let me give you an example. If you're sending cold emails out to people and you send 1,000 and you're like, oh my God, great, like I've got a 30% open rate, or like 10 people have replied. Now, if you stick with that same email and send it to 10,000 people, you might see the same result. But if you change that email up and you got better results, great, fantastic, like you're going to stick with that new one. But if you change that email up and you got worse results, still, that's good, because what you've done is just prove that your first email is the best one available. And by constantly experimenting with not just emails, but different ideas or different thought processes, like, okay, how do I get more people engaged in my platform? Do I send them a weekly email? Do I send them a daily email? Do I call them from the phone? By testing these different things, you're constantly proving if one idea is better than the other, and you're constantly experimenting. So there's a clip I watched recently by Jeff Bezos. He basically goes through the fact that at such an early stage, you don't know what you're doing. Like, you really don't know what you're doing. You don't know what's going to work out. So unless you're constantly experimenting with different ideas within your niche or within your product or platform or whatnot, you're not going to know what's going to work the best. So with us at Fabrio, we constantly try different things, slowly test different things. For example, we test our email copy, or do we test the way people are onboarded? Do we have different questions that are presented to them? When are they presented to them? Do we track X, Y, Z? And by testing these small things and doing these small experiments, we're building up a better picture of how to really engage or how to build our company. So the fifth lesson is learning how to take a break. And this is something I've been very guilty of not doing. And it's something that I've started to do more recently, because your mind is constantly consumed by your startup or your business or what you're working on, the project or the current problem at hand. But in the startup world, there are always problems. There are constantly problems. It's literally not a startup without problems. And so you're constantly trying to solve it and your mind's always on. And that's just not healthy. If you're not spending time with friends, if you're not taking a break, if you're not reading a book which is not about business, you're literally constantly thinking about it, and it doesn't free your mind up to think about new things or new ideas. You never know, you might go on a ski trip, or you might go on holiday, or you might just go for a walk without your phone and your iPad or a book or whatever, and you might think of the next big thing. I think it's important to take time out of building and spend time with your friends. There's too many startups online, there's too many founders who promote this like hustle culture. And yes, I agree, it's important to hustle down when you need to hustle down, you need to buckle down and really work hard. But if you're looking at running a startup for the next 3 to 5 years, every single day, are you going to be working 24 hours? Like 16 hours, are you going to be working that every single day? It's not going to be healthy if you are. With that being said, I'm going to go up and I'm going to go light a fire because I'm going to have a barbecue and a couple of my friends are coming around. I'm just going to have a chill evening. So, cool. Switch in a bit.